Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. It's the start of a new week, but it's not the start of... Well, look, there is some positive statements out there. A huge statement from Rasmus Højlund playing for Denmark yesterday, last night. What a statement that is, hugely positive. So happy he's part of our team. Absolutely. Leadership in such a young player. It's a positive we need, and we know we've got the Jadon Sancho stuff that will come out later. But we're starting off with some quite big statements coming out from Antony. If yesterday wasn't big enough, the announcement that United have basically agreed with the player to, take a leave of absence, suspension, take a break, whatever you want to call it. But it's bigger than that. It's bigger than that this morning because Antony has put further statements out, which we'll get into. I've got quite a... It might be a controversial take. It's not meant to be controversial. It's just a reading of the situation. Actually done some research on this and spoke to a few people this morning. And you know, on the United Stand, we're not here to just follow. We're here to lead. Sometimes it's opinion, and although we always like it to be entertainment, sometimes it's opinion. And I have got opinions on this that I think. Just going to give you where I'm at with it, really. And then you can obviously make your own mind up, of course. But look, so in relation to Antony, he released a statement last night. And the first thing I would say is that I think Antony wants a quick return here. I think Man United want a quick return. I think Man United fans want a quick return under the parameters that he hasn't done anything wrong. If he's done something wrong, then I think himself would never expect to play for Man United again. So it's let's be clear here. I don't think it's I don't think it's a case of let's play a footballer who's done something wrong. I think it's about getting to the bottom of this very, very quickly, and that is what Antony is trying to do. Now, a lot of people try and compare this with the Mason Greenwood situation. Mason Greenwood never put any statements out, never denied anything. Even when the case was dropped, he said, I just want to move on. He never said he didn't do it. I've never seen a statement from Mason Greenwood saying he didn't do it. So, look, people trying to compare these two situations, it's like comparing two apples, isn't it? They're not the same. They're not the same. They're just not. So I think there would have been hypocrisy if United hadn't suspended Antony like Greenwood was suspended. I think that is 100% correct from the club. However they've got there, I think that's right. But any comparisons after that, I think are silly because we didn't have this with Mason Greenwood. We had audio, we had photo, we had a police investigation, we had silence from Greenwood, and I think that in that case was the right way for Greenwood to go. Of course it was. This case with Antony, it's almost like a soap opera. And I've given it a few days before I sort of react to it. And I might get completely wrong. We're only going off what's out there. But you've got these alleged victims giving interviews in Brazil and to the press. And now you've got Antony having to make statements like we're about to read here to the press. You wouldn't get this in the UK. You wouldn't get this with the Mason Greenwood case. And I don't know why we're getting it with this case. Is it about money? Is it about how the system works in Brazil? People like myself last week said, why is Antony putting statements out? But I understand why he's putting statements out, because these victims are basically constantly putting stuff out there, whether it's interviews or messages or through their lawyer. They're constantly putting stuff out there, which is therefore forcing Antony to put stuff out there. And last week I would have thought the club would have been dead against it, but I actually think the club are probably saying now, just go and sort it. You're not a Man United player at the moment. Well, you are, but you're not playing for United. Just go and sort it. And it's interesting that within a few hours of United and Antony putting a statement out that he's taken a leave of absence to sort this out, he's then putting statements out like this. So, look, one of the victims is called Ingrid. He said, I spoke to Ingrid on WhatsApp when she went to Portugal to attend her cousin's birthday. She asked to come to Manchester to meet me with a clear intention of being intimate, including asking me if I preferred red or white lingerie. I bought a ticket and booked a hotel for her. In fact, I met her at their mentioned hotel and we had an intimate and consensual encounter. Although she insisted that we meet again for another intimate encounter, due to scheduling issues, I was unable to see her again as she returned to Brazil. Since then, I have never met her again. All of this I narrate now is undoubtedly proven in the WhatsApp messages, which I just did not publish in full to preserve the right to privacy. However, I will make available to the appropriate channels, if necessary, to prove my innocence, as well as to propose the competent reparatory action and request for investigation. So I mean, I read that, it's almost like I'm reading a script from a bloody soap. It's like she asked me what colour lingerie to. It could even be a sitcom, couldn't it, if it wasn't so serious? Does that prove that there wasn't any violence. Of course, it doesn't. It proves they met up though, and you just wonder what messages they've got between each other and where this is going. I'm certainly not going to sit here and say that Anthony's innocent or the people who are making the allegations are making them up, but we've all got our own opinions on this, and I just don't really like where this is going in relation to what's being put out there publicly. And you had to tread carefully with the Mason Greenwood case because it was very quiet and it was dealt with by the police, and you've got to be very, very careful about what you say. This is being played out in public. And Anthony's put another statement out in the last few minutes saying, I wouldn't like to, but I'm being forced to publish a small part of the WhatsApp conversation with Ingrid, which proves that we've only had one date, intimate and consensual. This issue with this imposter will be resolved in justice. And yeah, it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible that we're in a position where we're now dealing with very serious allegations where both parties are basically leaking WhatsApp online. Pathetic as it feels like a shakedown. Well, look, I think there are. Yeah, I'm not afraid to say this. There's a few. I've seen some complete and utter prats saying Anthony's done it on bloody online and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, get prepared to get sued. I'm not in for that, and I don't actually think that. I don't know whether Anthony's done it. I don't know whether these people are looking to exploit Anthony for money. Is it possible that one of these alleged victims is feeling jealous and has been dumped and wants some money out of him? Are there people out there that try and extort people? Of course there are. But on the other hand, is it possible that they're a victim of domestic abuse? Of course there is. The truth will hopefully out, but it's not the behaviour. And obviously remember that we don't know how it works in relation to the Brazil legal system, etc. This is not normal behaviour from victims, and I'm talking about Anthony himself, like victims of these allegations or victims of the actual alleged abuse. It's not normal for all parties to be conducting this in public, and WhatsApp's being mentioned and things like that. So I think United have made the right choice eventually, and I think Anthony's made the right choice, because it looks to me like I don't think he could be doing this if he was still going to play for United on Saturday. It's too messy. I think this is about, right, you're not playing for United, go and sort this out by however means you want to sort it out, because ultimately we've agreed that you're suspended, so we can't get any kickback. So I think it's going to get a little bit, what's the word? Unprofessional? I don't know. But ultimately, I think it's just going to escalate publicly until we get to a point of some sort of resolution, because I think Anthony wants a quick return. He wants to be back playing for Manchester United. And you know what? Opinion, I think he will be back playing for Man United pretty soon. And I think a lot of this will go. That's just my opinion. I don't have any evidence or theory on that. I just have a hunch that I think that he will be back quicker than people think. And I think a lot of this will probably, like it has for other players in the past, and I'm not going to start naming those players, it's not fair, but other big players in the game have been accused and, of very serious things, and it goes away. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. It just doesn't have this. For me, a lot of people are trying to compare it to the Mason Greenwood situation, and I don't think it's similar at all. That was just not played out in public like this, apart from the actual, evidence, I suppose, or supposed evidence, whatever you want to call it. I think United have done the right thing to suspend him, and I think he's done the right thing to agree to that. Let's just get it sorted, because it's a mess. Andy Weatherall's gifted a membership, and get to the point and wrap this up in 10 minutes. We ain't got no time, Mark. I'll tell you what, I'll get you to the point, mate. Let me just remove you. There you go. If you don't want to watch a news show at 10 o'clock on a weekday morning, don't watch it. But don't be rude. Yeah. What colour was the lingerie, says Simon. I think it was red or white, according to the statement. But look, we can't laugh about it. Well, you can. I'm trying to present a show. I don't want to sit here and laugh, because who knows where this will end up. But WhatsApp's being shared in relation to these allegations. Some people will say, look, there's a lot of allegations against him. Other people will say, well, who knows how that's going to how that's going to play out. But look, it's a big statement from Anthony. It's another statement from Anthony. It's starting to get a little bit messy. WhatsApps are being leaked. I'm never a big fan of that anyway, really. I'm not a big fan of that. But ultimately, if you feel you're being extorted or lied about and your reputation's in danger, I suppose, you've got to try and clear your name. So we'll see what happens. The big point is, a lot of people are saying, what's next? When will Anthony play for Man United again? Mason Greenwood didn't play for United again, but was suspended for 18 months. How long's a piece of string? As I said yesterday, it could be 18 months, it could be 18 games, it could be 18 days, it could be next week, he could be playing against Bayern. We don't know how quick this is going to happen. Martin says, does it enter the court of public opinion? Of course it does. We are the court of public opinion, but not everybody should be treated the same way in the court of public opinion. The whole point of court of public opinion is you deal with what you've got. I think this is very different at the moment to Mason Greenwood. Very, very different. And I know there's a lot of United fans, championing Greenwood at Getafe and saying the boy deserves a chance and this, that and the other. You go and do what you want. That's up to you. I don't want him back in a Man United shirt, and I don't compare the situation with Greenwood to Anthony at the moment based on what we know. But people are lazy, and people want to throw it into the same thing. Of course, rival fans are going to do that. I think a lot of United fans do it based on what they think of the footballer as a footballer. Do what you want in the court of public opinion. That's what I say. You make your own mind up. But I just, at the moment, I'm not anywhere near putting Anthony in the same situation as Mason Greenwood based on what we know and the very, very big differences in way this is being conducted. I mean, it's a soap opera what's going on with Anthony. The Mason Greenwood thing, we all saw it, we all heard it, didn't we? So could this go to court like Mendy, says Ash? Yeah, it could do. Could go on for a very long time. But, I think everybody just wants it to get resolved very, very quickly. Doesn't seem right when a victim goes public saying a player needs to be suspended, etc., says David Sherwin. Look, I reckon it's going to come out. I reckon there's going to be... I personally think this is going to be over very, very quickly. But look, it's only an opinion, and as we know, we're one thing I would say is we're well seasoned as a fan base at dealing with stuff like this, aren't we? Which we don't actually want to be dealing with. Anyway, moving it back to football, and this is a fantastic statement. I mean, look, it's got nothing to do with anything like what we've been talking about, which is great. Look at this. Talk about big statements. Talk about huge statements. I'm sure you probably saw my Twitter last night at Mark Goldbridge. If you're not, why aren't you following me? But this was Rasmus Højlund after the get. Højlund, not D. There's no a D on the end. This was Rasmus Højlund yesterday. Rasmus. Yeah, just incredible. Absolutely incredible. So Denmark qualified for the Euros last night with a 1-0 win. He didn't actually win. He didn't actually score, but he's been a big part of it. Fans are celebrating. Players go over to the corner where they're celebrating. Højlund picks up a tannoy and says, "I heard you all, and your passion is everything in football. We're going to the fucking Euros. Fucking come on." And that's from Rasmus Højlund. And I just, you know what? I think a lot of United fans are going to learn about him. Savage says, "What a beast." I think a lot of United fans are going to learn about this player. Of course they are. And, it's great. But I think that what you've got there is an absolute beast of a player with an amazing mentality that holds no fear and embraces and enjoys his job. And we need, I remember Paul Robinson, one of our moderators, he said, I've not seen Paul for a long time, actually. I hope you're doing well, Paul. He said that basically, when we buy players, it normally takes a year or two for us to destroy what we bought. They become infected by the club. They become players that let their heads drop. They become inconsistent. They become weighed down by this football club. And we've got to be really, really, really protective of Rasmus because we can't destroy that. That's that sort of passion and hunger and desire and joy to play football and aggression. I mean, we've only seen him play for half an hour against Arsenal. He wasn't bothered, and look, they're still very raw as a player. There's still a lot to learn. But, I think about Wayne Rooney when he burst on the scene at Everton and Man United. Just played with no fear and aggression. And it's not everybody has that. Not everybody has that. So, look, it might only be a statement, but there ain't many players in the world who grab a tannoy and start shouting at the fans to, get them going. And I think that... You know what my thoughts are. I think he's going to be an absolute superstar anyway. But I think already we've brought in the right player, and you can see why Erik ten Hag wanted this type of player, this young player that he can develop. But also, there's a certain profile. You talk about personalities, and we've been talking about personalities recently about United not doing background checks on players' personalities, and then it bites us on their arse. They're not ambitious. Maybe they're a bit lazy. Maybe they're troublemakers. Who knows? We've had plenty, and I'm not talking about. People will be saying, "Oh, you're talking about Sancho." I'm not talking about Sancho. I'm talking about Di Maria. I'm talking about Pogba to a certain extent. Harry Maguire. There's loads of players that we've bought for big money that ultimately aren't Man United players. And I think with Højlund, and we had it with Bruno as well. But then some would say, is Bruno the player we bought? Has he become weighed down by United a little bit? Maybe right. And that's why we need to be careful. We've got to build with these types of players. We've got to build. This sort of mentality should be the norm throughout the team. The fact that I'm championing it on a Monday morning because a Man United player playing for his country has grabbed a tannoy and given a passionate speech and clearly loves football. Every player should have that at Man United. I mean, when I was watching United, probably a lot of your age as a teenager, you had Roy Keane, Steve Bruce, Peter Schmeichel, Paul Ince, Mark Hughes, Eric Cantona, and plenty of others. You had the young lads coming through as well. And that was it. United were a very, very good side, but there used to be a team called Wimbledon who used to play in the Premier League who were just, no one liked playing them. They were rough. And especially at Selhurst Park where they played their home games, they were rough. But United could go and rough it up with them. Even though we were better at football than them, we would rough it up with them. And I think United need to get that back. It's not just about playing good football. I think about Sir Alex football under Sir Alex when we used to play Arsenal. I think if we sometimes played Wenger's Arsenal, just played football, they'd beat us. But we used to go and rough them up a bit as well. You put Phil Neville in centre midfield and get him to clatter a few people. We've always been that. We can play football, but we can mix it up a little bit as well. And we've lost that. We've lost that identity. We've lost that aggression. We've lost that passion. We've lost that, joy of wearing a Man United shirt. And I think when I see statements like that, I get very excited because I think, this is a young lad that could be at the club for the next few years. And we need to recapture that. And that's true. There'll be people watching this show going, Mark's right. I remember when we used to play Arsenal and, you didn't want to accept it. But deep down, you knew if you went toe-to-toe with we were a very good footballing side. But there was times where that Wenger Arsenal side, you'd think, if we go toe-to-toe, they probably will beat us. But you start, getting a few tackles in on them here and there and, make it about that. And United do need to do that. So, look, I think that's the big positive of the news show today is that, few words from Rasmus, because having a strike, and look, let's hope there's no more injuries, but having a striker like that fit, who's just so hungry to impress and play football, it's a huge, huge thing. And, look, I like Rashford, I like Bruno, I like Casemiro, I like Martinez, I like Luke Shaw, but there are games sometimes when those players just, you can see the drop off, you can see the heads drop. So we need to inspire that back. Palestri should be picked, and I hope he smashes it more than Ante. So we talk football and him being better than him, hopefully, says Simp. My striker, says Rashik. Thank you very much for everyone who's watching this morning. Awang says, Højlund is a beast. We are going to enjoy his game and the great personality. And living in the past, FC, says Phil B. But you have to learn from the past. I mean, we are... Phil, it's Monday morning. Is there no part of you that wakes up and say it's a new week? Let's try and be a little bit positive. Of course we're living in the fucking past. We're living in the... we are living in the past. We're UK Gold. We're the History Channel. We are living in the past because it's the only recent success we've got. So what do you do if, you have to look at the past and go, what were the ingredients of that? And there was a profile of player. There was a profile of personality. We are going to continue to live in the past, Phil. Apologies for that. We are going to continue to live in the past until we get a new ownership profile. Of course that's going to happen. Nobody is stupid enough to think that we are capable of winning anything under this current regime. Significant, but you can still start to build towards that. And I think that's what it's all about. I think that United have to, we can't just sit back and be defensive. We've got to try and go on the front foot, haven't we? Højlund is the future, says Tyler as well. Look, and things can turn around very, very quickly. Of course they can. We could be in a situation in 2 months' time where we've got new ownership, and things will change very, very quickly. Look at what Newcastle did in the space of 18 months, was it? Less than that. They were in a relegation zone, and then they were in the Champions League. Things can change really, really quickly, but they need to change quickly. Kartik, things can change really quickly, but they need to change quickly. They need to change fast. Kartik says, top player mentality, a beast of a player. I see our next future captain in Højlund, and I'm not going to speak too soon. Look, well, you just spoke too soon. Look, in no way am I saying that Rasmus Højlund compares to Erling Haaland in relation to football. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a player here that's got a strong mentality that encompasses what we're about. And every now and then, United bring a player in that just really resonates with the fans. And I think Rasmus is going to do that. I think Martinez did it last year. Casemiro does it. There's just a certain profile of player that really connects with the fans. Ander Herrera was very good at it as well. It doesn't necessarily mean you're the best player in the team. Does Rashford connect with the fans the same way that Martinez and Højlund does already? No, it's a personality trait. There's nothing wrong with that from Rashford. Bruno doesn't connect the same as Martinez does, even though Bruno contributes more. There's just certain personality connects that really grab the fan base. It doesn't always mean that you're the best player, I'll admit that. Passion merchant sucks, says Delaney. Well, I think that's a good point, because Scott McTominay is a passion merchant, and no, he doesn't really connect with the fan base because he doesn't have the ability. It's like talent without hard work, isn't it? You can have all the talent in the world, but if you're not hard working, you'll waste your talent. And you can be as hard working as you want, but if you don't have the talent, you'll be a waste of time as well. It's a well-known story, as many of us will know. Heart on sleeve kind of guy. Passion without hard work, says Ladios. Mark can't pronounce lingerie. Yes, I can. I just did. As long as I can, I nearly said as long as I can open it, that would be wrong. Only consensually and only with the wife, which isn't always consensual. You must remember that. Mark, it is with me, but what I'm saying is no means no. That's a very serious message. Got to bring the full package, says Paul Lucas. Ahmad was best player in the championship. Why are we talking about Ahmad? Got no idea why we're talking about Ahmad. Maybe we're talking about Ahmad because today's the day. Now, we've got Fabrizio Romano on the show this afternoon. I'm really looking forward to this video with Fabrizio. Why are you looking? I'll tell you what I'm not looking forward to. This blaring light that's coming in through here, that we need to just close it down. It's getting on my tits, so to speak. That's a little bit better. I'm really looking forward to speaking to Fabrizio later because I want to talk about the... there's a few things I want to talk about. I want to talk about Sancho and Antony, of course, but I also want to talk about the situation with... some of the people that didn't leave the club, the Donny van der Beeks, the Harry Maguires, the Scott McTominays, purposely didn't really ask Fabrizio about it during the transfer window, but want to just grab the truth about why those players are still at the club and what's gone on, really. So I'm looking forward to asking him about that. But at some point today, we will get some sort of resolution around Jadon Sancho, of course. I think we've all got to accept that. The talks are meant to take place today. I was asked a fair question about this. What do you think it will come out publicly? Of course it's going to come out publicly. Of course it's going to come out publicly. It's bound to come out publicly, I think. I think with the way it's going, with Sancho, I think it has to come out publicly, as we know. What I do think will happen with Sancho is that the meeting... Well, look, if you look at it with Sancho, what's happened? So Sancho didn't get picked for the Arsenal game. Erik ten Hag gets asked a question, considering he wasn't even on the bench, not injured, not ill, didn't pick him because of how he trained this week. Then he puts a statement out within half an hour saying it's a lie, I've been scapegoated, etc. And then we are where we are now, where they're going to have this meeting. So And obviously that pinned tweet of Sancho's is still there a week later. I presume they'll have the meeting this morning, and what I think will happen is we will get this played out in public, because it appears to me that one or both of these parties aren't really bothered about keeping it in house. So yeah, I think that I think we will see a some sort of leak at some point today in relation to in that. Yeah, people are moaning about Mark's pants. It's bloody hot. Lots of newsreaders walk, in hot weather, don't walk around, wear their pants. It's a well-known myth. Goldbridge is no different. It's really hot today. I'm wearing, well, they're actually boxer shorts. I think they've ridden up a little bit, but yeah, I'm happy to be wearing them. There's nothing else on show. To the reserves, Maguire, McTominay and Sancho. Well, we will ask about that. We'll ask about that. Yeah. I do think we'll hear about Sancho later today. And my prediction, and it's all about opinion, my prediction is that he has to stay and play at Man United. And I think there is a lesson here. The long-term solution is probably the end of Sancho at Man United. But the short-term solution is probably he plays for Man United. I don't think Ten Hag is stupid. Cristiano Ronaldo. I mean, look, I said this the other day and I'll say it again. About this time last year, we played a game and Ronaldo was on the bench. And with a couple of minutes left to go, he got up and walked down the tunnel. That's one of the biggest things I've ever seen in football. All right, it's not as good as Cantona, of course, but it's not as good as Cantona in relation to, I'm not saying what Cantona did was good, although many people think it was. I think in relation to what happened with Cantona, it was massive. He jumped into the crowd and kung fu kicked someone. But Ronaldo literally stood up, walked down the stairs and walked down the tunnel without the manager's consent in front of a whole load of fans. So that's a major thing to do. There was an apology and he played for United again, albeit he left very, very soon after that. He did get picked by Ten Hag again, and correct me if I'm wrong, didn't he get given the captaincy as well? So I think that there is a chance that Sancho will play for Man United again, even though the long-term solution will be that he goes. I don't expect a scenario where Jadon Sancho never plays for Manchester United again. I don't think that will happen. I think he's not a first teamer anyway, so I think that what will happen is that Erik Ten Hag will give him bench opportunities, minutes here and there, and it's about putting yourself in the shop window, which actually helps Man United. There are three players in this. There's Jadon Sancho's side, there's Erik Ten Hag's side, and I think both of those will probably want to part ways. But then there's the third and most important person, who also could be the most incompetent person, but you'd hope would be the most competent person, and that is the negotiator. Now, whether that's Richard Arnold or John Murtagh, and what they should be saying to both, if I was doing the role, I'd be saying, look, is there a transfer you can do now? No. Can we do one in January? Possibly. Can we do one next summer? Much better chance of doing it. So we've got September, October, November, December, and potentially January, February, March, April, May. If we put him in the reserves, his value, we're paying him 300 grand a week, and his value plummets, and he becomes a bit of a problem that the world knows a problem, and we might get more negative press. If we put him on the bench and we let him play here and there, then everything looks positive again. We're getting value. Sancho's getting value. He's getting game time, and there's a little bit more interest come January. So I suspect that what the outcome of this will be is some positive PR point around resolvement of issues, misunderstandings, desire to win, total commitment to the club. Despite the misunderstanding, both manager and player have always respected each other and are totally committed to making a good season. Something like that will come out, and then ultimately I think we will end up with Sancho leaving United at some point in the next 9 months. And that is the way to do it. Now, you lot will probably sit there like me and go, what a load of bollocks. That's not really what's happening, is it? It's just it's about the money. It's about what's best for all parties. But I would do that. If I was the director of football, I would be working for that, because there's not a lot I can do at the moment. You know, if Eric says to me, I don't want Sancho to ever play again, he's disrespected me, I don't want him training, I don't want him anywhere near the team, I've got to put a statement out, I've got to show him who's boss, then I've got to say, Eric, if you do that, you've got no money next summer. Like, literally, we've got to get some money for this player, otherwise you won't have any money to replace him with. So, like Bolver says, we're almost £1 billion in debt. If we were owned by Qatar, it would be a very different story. I think if we were owned by Qatar, you'd say to Ten Hag, and this is the sad thing, you know, you want to clip anything from this morning, this is what you want to clip. Because if Manchester United were owned by Qatar, or Todd Boehly, or Man City's owners, or whatever like that, Eric Ten Hag would have full and total control to go, you're in the reserves, it's not my problem, don't care what you're getting paid, don't care if anyone wants to buy you, you're in the reserves, you better get a new agent because you need to sort your career out, I don't want you anywhere near my team, see you later, goodbye. And Sancho is rotting in the reserves. But you've got to have very rich owners for that to happen, because they've got to go, Eric, we're 100% behind you, you've just told us that if he's near the team, it damages your team. We'll stump up the money to pay his wages. He can find his own way out. And Sancho's suddenly in the shit. He's got no power at all. It's about player power, isn't it? But if you're owned by the Glazers, who basically have always overpaid and encouraged player power, and the club's in debt, they aren't never going to say to Ten Hag, you're putting him in the reserves and letting him rot. That's never happening. Oh, he's an asset. We can't afford to do that. So, look, it's like what we were talking about in the summer. If you wanted to sell Maguire, McTominay and Donny van der Beek under Qatar ownership in the summer, they're all gone by mid-July. They're gone. Because you literally say to them, if you don't find yourself a club, you're not even going on the tour. You're not part of it. And what are they going to do? I'll play for but I'm on 200 grand a week with a 2-year contract. Great. There's 5 million. Go and earn 100 grand a week at Man City. We'll cover the rest of the wages. Just go. That would happen. That happens at lots of big clubs, but United were never in a position to do that. So we're always going to be hamstrung by that. Claude says, why do you hate Scott so much? I don't hate it, mate. I don't hate anything. I think the fact that you've brought hate into the chat, Claude, means you are a hater. Claude the hater. I don't hate anybody. I love football. I watch football. If a player plays for Man United or England, or I'm watching a Chelsea-Liverpool game or whatever, and I think they're shit, I'll say, I think they're shit. If I watch a film and I think it's shit, I'll say it's shit. If I'm at a comedy, sitcom, if I'm watching stand-up comedy and the jokes were rubbish, I'll be in the pub afterwards talking about it going, God, he was shit. Or her. Women can be funny too. Can't think of any off the top of my head. What was her name? Not Dawn French. That's a bad example. Oh, Jo Brand. I used to quite find her funny. So the reality is, you've made me lose my point now, Claude. Yeah, the reality is, people like you, Claude, are very welcome in the world of football, but there is a light that never goes out, Mark says, enjoy writing. You're very welcome in the world of football, but you bring hate into it because you don't understand football. Like, it's not hate. It's not personal. Mark Clattenburg was the referee of the Sidemen charity game. I actually was having banter with him throughout the whole game. I've been calling him a prat for years because I think he made bad decisions watching it as a fan. But until you actually meet somebody, how can you hate somebody? And I wouldn't hate anybody anyway. One of the worst traits of the human psyche. Hate. Does nobody any good at all. Absolutely none. I don't hate anybody, and I certainly don't hate a footballer. I don't like some of the players that we've got playing in our team because of their ability, but hate, come on, grow up. I don't even know Scott McTominay anyway. Maybe he's a knobhead. Maybe he's a really nice guy. He's very well liked at Man United. I'd certainly say he's probably a really nice guy. But, yeah. What happened to... Hey, Chris B. Interesting. I don't know whether it was picked up by the cameras, but even Clattenburg was having a chat with me, and I don't know whether it got picked up by the cameras, but Clattenburg said he hates VAR. He said he hates VAR, it ruins football. There you go. These people should talk more. They should. It's good to talk. Do you hate the Glazers, says Rebel? Great question. Does me hate the Glazers? No. No. I hate what they've... I don't like the word hate, but we use it, very freely, don't we? I don't think I actually hate anything, but it's a strong word when you don't like something. So I don't like what they've done to Manchester United, but a large part of me is like, why was it allowed to happen? Who let Manchester United be bought on debt? They are... I don't like the Glazers, of course I don't. They are parasites, they are mercenaries, but when you break it down, they don't even like football. They've inherited something that their dad gave them, and their dad bought it as a business transaction, and he probably pulled off one of the biggest business transactions in sporting history. He got hold of a club that makes loads and loads of money, and he got it for free and was allowed to put it into debt. As a business transaction, it doesn't matter what we say, they've absolutely milked this club dry off no income, off no outlay. But yeah, I like every Man United fan, I can't stand what they've done to the club. But I think hate's a strong word, isn't it? I mean, hate. The reason I don't like the word hate is because hate eats people up. So there we go. Robert McCormack hates anyone who hates Scott, and that's some top class speech. Thank you very much. The debt is a disgrace, and do you hate the dude who wished you were dead on Twitter, says Rahul? No, it's wasted energy. I mean, anybody who is that the person who did that, I feel sorry for someone who's got that level of vocabulary, having never met me and saying something like that. But look, that's what I mean. Hate eats up the person who holds the hate. Don't put it in you. Anyway, we've gone off tangent a little bit there, haven't we? Let's just see if there's anything else sort of breaking. Really positive statements from Rasmus Højlund. Can't wait to get him back playing for Manchester United. Also, we've got the statements from Antony, which are now coming out, which we've already discussed. And yeah, I just want to get to the back end of the week. I want to get to the back end of the week and get football back for Manchester United, effectively. There we go. Anyway, look, thanks everyone for watching this morning. As I said, we've got Fabrizio on the show at 2. I'm going to get some real insight from Fabrizio today. I've got some really strong questions to ask him, so looking forward to that, about the summer and what went wrong with certain players. We have got an 8 o'clock show for you as well. Yes, we have. And we're building back towards Man United coming back. And of course, being Man United, I can pretty much guarantee there'll be some statement of some sort coming out at some point today that makes us go, oh my God. Do you know when Ahmad and Mainoo are coming back from injury, says Joshua? Well, Ten Hag's never the best at announcing when injuries are going to come back. I think Ahmad should be back before Mainoo. I've heard some really weird stuff about Mainoo not being back till February, but then being back in November. So we could do with an update on that from somebody within the club. So we'll try and chase that down for you. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care. I'll speak to you all in a bit.